Hi everyone, welcome to the Stay Hungry podcast. It's Joel and Andy again. Andy, how you doing?
I don't think I'm ever going to get bored of that intro.
No, I like it.
It's well cool.
I'm into it. So we're on a Ahead of the Game episode today.
We are here to talk about some of the mindset stuff behind business rather than just the marketing. Obviously, the marketing is very important, sales very important, finance very important. But if you haven't got the confidence, the willpower, sometimes the tenacity to learn, to survive, let's face it, the shitstorm of COVID, all the knowledge is a waste of time.
Tenacious, that's a good description of you. Tenacious.
Yeah,
Small man syndrome is another word.
Emma calls it something else. Stubborn bastard.
Yeah. That's what next time Hannah's.
But I took it as a compliment.
I'll just say, yeah, I'm tenacious.
Tenacious D. Is that shit band that Jack Black does?
Oh, the first album's brilliant.
Oh, really? Did someone put him on the Codebreak playlist? Is that right? Is there a Tenacious D?
Yeah, one of George's, because it was something to do with when she was teaching kids in America or something.
Oh, okay. What, Fat Camp? Oh, no, you probably can't say that now.
Definitely can't say that. I think it was
children's camp for...
I don't think they were fat. I don't know why you're thinking that.
Oh, there was definitely special camps for people whose parents wanted their children to lose weight over the summer.
Yeah, but I think she was just a nice camp.
Oh, okay. A nice camp. Well, I'm sure the other camp... We're digging really hard.
Right, okay, so...
What are we here to talk about today, Joel?
5 minutes ago, you told me that we are going to interview each other, basically. Tell our stories.
Okay.
And now I'm shitting myself for what you might ask me.
Worried what I might probe and what you might reveal, because I'm like a wily interrogator.
Yeah, but I'm also very aware, and from a marketing perspective for other businesses, that we don't really tell our story.
Yes, good lesson there. That you might think, not you, but like the listener, if you run a business, that you might think, oh, I can't talk about myself because that's very un-British, and I must just be like all my competitors. It's like, well, no. Say if you've been working a long time in your industry, or say if you've passed a course or got a diploma in whatever it is you do, people need to know about it. Now, of course, you don't go around being all cocky and bragging about stuff, but if you have worked really hard to better help your customers, people need to know about it. So your story is important. And to be honest, even on our own website, I think we tell our story pretty well. But there are still things I could probably tweak. Do people really know about some of the brands that you've worked on in the past?
Well,
give me rattle some off.
Guinness. Everyone knows Guinness.
No, I don't drink anymore.
Oh,
Caliber. Do you remember that? The Guinness's no alcohol drink.
Yeah.
Do they still make that?
That was a really popular non-alcoholic drink, wasn't it?
Well, because my dad's religion, they never drank. So I remember he used to have packs of Caliber in the garage.
You give little tidbits away as you go, you do. So I think, obviously, I can reel off brands. Guinness, Reebok. I've worked with major TV brands. I've worked with Samsung, GlaxoSmithKline.
Apple?
Quite a few. Not Apple, no. If I'm honest, not Apple.
That would have been a really good opportunity to lie.
But something you just did then as well. It's not just about showing off your credentials. It's about showing off where you've come from and your grounding and what motivated you to get to where you are today. Because if people can relate to that or be inspired by that, that's really important. And something I've been really shy of before for reasons that we may or may not discuss.
Or alternatively, that people might switch off you because of what you say, and that's fine too. You've got all these people who are trying to appeal to everyone, and we're on a bit of a mission about that because we've got some lovely clients because they're lovely people, and they don't want to offend anyone. And not that we'd ever set out to offend people, but sometimes they need to be a bit louder and a bit more, not divisive, but if they've got an opinion that maybe not everyone will agree with,
be okay with that.
Yeah.
I find that really interesting, and the more business owners we talk to, the more you realise it's really important that you're not trying to appeal to everybody.
Appeal to everyone, appeal to no one.
All right then, let's go. What's your story?
What's my story? God, how long do I start?
So what made you want to go into business? What's the one thing you point to maybe in your childhood, teen years, where you thought one day I'm going to work for myself?
Do you know why? It's because of what I didn't want to do. That's almost started on my journey. I didn't want to train my backside off for something that I might end up not liking. So I'm basically talking about my dad. And my dad was a doctor.
No, you liked your dad.
I liked my dad. Didn't like what he did. He wasn't a gangster or anything. He was a doctor. But I saw what he sacrificed, and he loved what he did. Don't get me wrong; it was right for him, but ultimately he did sacrifice his own health for that of his patients. But I saw what he put into, and not just the studying. You know, obviously after medical college, all those years and years of studying, the constant pressure, lawsuits, just being on call, going out, and all this stuff. I knew I didn't have it in me to do a job where I had to not only study for years and years and years to get the qualifications I needed to do it, but to have that kind of constant commitment and to be honest, to be taken away from my family. Our family was really close, but you know, pretty much the only regret my dad had towards the end of his life was that, I suppose, like a lot of parents, especially my parents' generation, they didn't spend enough time with their children.
Yeah.
And I thought, I want a job where I get to choose. And that means working for myself. And at that point, I didn't really know that would be in marketing, but I knew I didn't want to be a doctor, a dentist, a vet, all that kind of stuff. I wanted a job where I had flexibility. And that's what I value now. I like money, don't get me wrong, but that flexibility for me to say, I'm going to go off this afternoon and take my kids to the cinema. Oh, it's hard to put a price on that, isn't it?
Well, you've put a heavy price on it, the risks you've had to take to have that.
I'll tell you something though, all pales into insignificance. And I remember what my dad had to do.
Yeah.
Because my dad was a GP before the days of shop doc, and he'd literally be in this surgery for 8 o'clock in the morning. He would finish at 6 o'clock, and straight away at 6 o'clock he'd have to put the answering machine on. And straight away people would start calling the answering machine because basically they couldn't be asked to go to the surgery. They wanted the surgery to come to them. So dad would go out and call, come back home. 8 o'clock he'd go out, call, come back. And how many times I'd wake up in the middle of the night and dad would be going out again, half the time to see someone whose son was hungover. Oh my God. So yeah, me and you have sacrificed a lot, but my dad, I mean, ultimately again, without hammering the point home, he sacrificed his health for his job. And yeah, I suppose we have to a certain extent, but we have the luxury of having that flexibility. Whereas dad, you know, if you've got patients, you've got to look after them. That's the oath you've taken.
Yeah.
Serious shit, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I mean, what about you?
So
I've got a question for you.
Okay.
You're an awesome marketer, but you started designing, and obviously you're still an awesome designer. Why are you not being an awesome designer working for someone else?
I think I'm a pain in the ass employee. I think that's as honest as I can possibly be. So,
but you were very successful when you were an employee, weren't you?
Yeah, I did well for people. But I challenged everything.
I can see that.
Yeah.
You remind me of someone else in our office.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. Well, yeah.
That's why I could never tell Emily off, because she reminds me of me when I was younger.
Yeah, and I challenged everything, and in hindsight, I can see that I knew bugger all. But I knew I was bright, so I kind of.
So were you brought up to challenge the man?
I was brought up to always a bit, you know, like the rock hardest worker in the room. So I very much felt, particularly from my dad, if I got 11 A's and 1 B, and I think you tell a story like this as well.
That's my grandma in India. Yeah.
If I got 11 A's and 1 B, what did you do wrong in that class?
Wow.
Rather than
Mum and dad, or just dad?
Just dad. Mum was more concerned with happiness.
Did your dad get straight A's at school then?
Not at all. He was a bit of a tearaway, yeah. So he didn't want me to. He's always been a hard worker. I mean, he was a carpenter when I was a kid, so he'd leave the house at 7 in the morning, wouldn't come back to 7 at night every day, and he'd work so hard that he couldn't even stand up, kind of thing. So I knew what hard work was.
Did he work hard and work smartly, or did he just work hard?
Just worked hard.
Probably like my dad, to be honest. Then.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a generational thing, that people are switched on to this now? There's a difference between working hard and working smart, because you can be the hardest worker in the room, like The Rock says,
and get nowhere.
Yeah, we know lots of very busy people, but what do you do today? Oh shit! Actually, in terms of pushing the business forward, nothing.
Yeah, so I know. So my dad had confidence issues based around mental health, and I know that he would do a lot of work for outside of his employment. He'd do a lot of carpentry, odd jobs, and I know what he charged people. And I remember conversations even when I was young, but particularly from my mum, saying, "You don't charge what you're worth." But he felt he was helping people. But what he couldn't see was that they were taking advantage of him. And I've been there myself in business where people have know I'll do a good job, but don't. No one's going to tell you that you should be charging more.
No, absolutely. But then, we know we have both lost out on work in previous lives because we undercharged. Because when we were doing proposals, it's almost like, oh, well, these guys actually look cheap. Oh, there must be something wrong.
Yeah, nobody ever asked my dad to come and build them an extension, but they might ask him to fit them a couple of cupboards or fix a window. And I think now I know, in my 30s, I know that maybe if he'd have charged a bit more.
You're in your 30s?
That's funny. That's really funny, Andy. Early 30s.
I thought Joel was in his 40s when I first met him.
Yeah, early 30s as well, thank you. So,
really? I know when your birthday is, but I wouldn't know how old you are.
33, thanks everybody. So,
that's interesting.
Yeah, so I'd say my drive to work for myself is I challenge everything all the time, and I think I'm relatively creative and innovative, and a day-to-day job doesn't necessarily allow you to be creative and innovative. Even if you're a designer for an agency, you've got to play by their rules.
Have you seen Con Air?
Yeah.
Remember that bit where...
Which one are you going to compare me to now?
No, I'm not going to compare you to any of them. But,
Playing full of criminals, great.
Nicolas Cage is talking to Steve Buscemi, and Steve Buscemi's basically playing that mad cannibal.
Yeah.
And then Steve Buscemi says, well, what's mad? It's like getting up at the arse crack of dawn, standing on a packed, sweaty train to go into an office, do a job you don't like, and that's his idea of madness. And it's like, that's my idea of hell as well. Because I've been there, you've been there. But it's like, yeah, that's...
The straw
See, there was a point to
the straw that broke the camel's back for me is an employer sent me to China for 2 days.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
That's better than my mate who went to Australia for the weekend.
Yeah, at least he wanted to.
Oh, well.
So, and I just thought, like, this is ridiculous.
Everyone knows you need at least 3 days to see China properly.
I just thought this is ridiculous. And then an employer after that, I was struggling with anxiety myself, and told them and said, look, you're sending me from South Shropshire to places up north and people from North Shropshire to places down south. This doesn't make sense. Why don't you send me to the ones down south and them to the ones up north? And they carried on doing it.
Why?
Well, the cynical part of me says that it was like sort the wheat from the chaff type thing. And I was like, well, I'm doing a good job and I'll continue to do a good job, but you're literally making me ill. And at that point, I was like, I'm never going to work for anyone else ever again. I'm not interested in that kind of... I don't think that's how you prove people.
Can you imagine there must be so many people out there now who's in that position where it's like, God, I can't work for other people, I need to work for myself. But because of circumstance or fear, they feel like they can't. Maybe they've got, maybe they've got dependents, maybe they've got children, and they I can't afford that risk of starting up and not knowing how much money I'm going to earn. I really can't think of much worse, being trapped in a job. What's it that quote about life's too short to be just about paying the bills or something? It's.
Well, if this year's taught me anything, it's that. It's really a real eye opener in terms of how much I've enjoyed just the simple things.
It's corny, isn't it? But it's so true. Those. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'd rather cry in a Porsche than on a bicycle. But those nice things like sitting in the garden with my children, playing with the dogs, dog walking. I've always enjoyed walking my dogs anyway. But like going on the bikes, run this morning. I was just running around. We live in the country, running through this country lane. It was about 6 o'clock. No one else around, obviously, because they're all sane. And it was lovely weather. And I was just running, and it was wonderful.
You say you love running. Every time you come into the office, you just moan about it.
I'm in severe pain now. It's only because of my military training that I'm not like rolling on the ground in agony.
Right. Let's hit the ads, and then I'm going to ask you some proper questions.
Hi everyone, Fergus at Codebreak. If you haven't already subscribed to our podcast, what are you waiting for? Hit subscribe and be notified every time we release an episode. And remember, stay hungry.
You haven't heard that one before.
No, well done, Fergus. How many takes was that?
That's hit first time, I think.
Oh, really? It wasn't just me then.
What a guy. New set of ads on the podcast. You're welcome, everyone.
Excellent.
So, okay. What's your background? How have you got to where you are today?
sounds like my dad and your dad probably would have had a lot to talk about because, I'll start off this story by saying my dad was an immigrant. Obviously, your dad wasn't, but my dad came to this country in the late 60s, and his attitude, whether it's right or wrong, always was, I've come to someone else's country, I've got to work harder than everyone else to prove that I should enjoy the benefits this country provides as much as everyone else. And that's something he always taught me. So whether I was working in a factory as a student, at school, not at university, I was drunk a lot of the time. Every job I've had, I've got to work hard. And that's something my dad, and that's the best thing I think my dad instilled in me. And I think obviously parents, that responsibility they have to shape their children and essentially shape their lives. He didn't perhaps stress the importance of working smartly, because to be honest, again, I just don't think that generation didn't really appreciate that. But working hard and making sure people know you work hard and work hard for them. And that's something now like I'd consider that we failed if a client ever thought that we were sat on our asses, if they didn't realise we were giving our blood, sweat and tears for them.
Our behind closed doors philosophy is very much we care more about their business than they do. And that's hurt us in the past. Yeah,
that we were both hurt by lots of our lovely clients obviously stayed with us during lockdown, even some of those who weren't legally allowed to trade. But we had a few leave us, and sometimes understandably, things are tight. But a couple sort of, I feel, let us down badly, knowing what we've sacrificed to look after them, family time with my children, evenings, weekends, and yet COVID hit, dropped us like a stone, and then had the temerity to ghost us, not to even tell us or to acknowledge our communications. That hurt, and that's a lesson learned. I don't want to turn into an even more of a cynical old bastard, but wow, you could easily get very cynical running a business into how people operate. When I hear about my kids talk about their friends ghosting them, I'm like, what are they on about? And them not being very happy. I feel their pain now.
Yeah, no, I get that. So, back to the original question.
Oh yeah, what was that?
Where have you come from? We got as far as your dad.
Yeah, so that was. I think that's something that's very important for me in business, where I've come from, the values. When you look back and you think, oh well, shit, I've done that. That's because of my mum. Done that because of my dad. It's quite scary, really. Like what scary to me as a parent. What influence I have over my children. But I grew up in quite I've got to be honest, a religious house, and that came with its own challenges. And I think sometimes if you're too strict, you'll go one way or the other, and that's what happened. My brother went one way and I went the other. He became a bit of a religious nut, and I became a pisshead in the band. But again, just kept coming back to my dad about working hard, earn your place here. And I grew up in the 70s and 80s where there was still a lot of racism, and obviously there is still a lot of racism now. But yeah, I've had people want to beat me up because of the colour of my skin. Other people want to beat me up because they just didn't like me, and that's fair enough.
Yeah, I get that feeling. I can relate.
But yeah, it's just like, it toughened me up, to be honest, and work hard, and not that work hard is the cure for everything, but it helped me, and but I did realise that, like you, I don't think I'm cut out to work for someone else. And like I said at the beginning, certainly not working in an industry where I've spent 7 years studying for, and it's like, well, I can't really stop doing that now because I've bloody given up 7 years and I've got 50 grand's worth of student fees to pay off now.
Yeah.
So that was important. I mean, well, we had someone work for us, and was it 30 grand they owed? In terms of student loans and shit.
I owe 15.
Bloody hell, really? But you went to Bolton. I thought that
they all charge
£5 a week to live there, isn't it?
Brutal. Yeah, I've still got a first class degree in graphic design. Thank you very much.
Is that what your degree's in?
Yeah.
Oh. What did your parents think about that then? Carpenter, and obviously sounds like he's very keen on you to get straight A's and everything. Did he have a plan for you?
No plan at all. I was the first person to go to university from my family.
That big splash, I bet, wasn't it? They made a big fuss about that.
No one gave a shit.
Oh,
I thought
it was going to be a happy end to that. Like, oh my God, Joel's the first stone to go to university since 1883 or something. Or
no, nothing. Oh. No, I didn't go to graduation because nobody knew what it was.
You didn't?
Which is that's a little violin story, isn't it? But
that's really sad. That's sadder than my own graduation picture that isn't in my mum's house anymore. It's all been replaced with pictures of my children.
But I think you and I will probably have a similar perspective on this, that I was raised in an environment where it was all graft, no reward.
Right, okay.
It was what was expected of you. So the way you talk about your dad and how he ran his surgery was what he expected of himself. And my dad had ridiculously high expectations of himself, but also a chip on his shoulder, so he'd beat himself up too.
What was his chip from?
Okay.
Hard upbringing.
I think he had quite a hard upbringing. His parents separated when he was young, which in the 70s wasn't the done thing. The year I was born, just before I was born, his brother committed suicide. And then that led to his mental health problems coming to the fore. So I think when you're that hard on yourself anyway, anything that you do achieve goes unnoticed, even by yourself. And that was kind of, I'd say that was accidentally trained into me and my brother too. So my brother was, and still is, a very, very good sportsman, and he's really bright as well. But he doesn't see it. It's just what he expects of himself. So he could have done anything with his life, but he chose not to because he didn't see it.
No, he does not find a pressure either. Although that said, he'll cut people out of cars as a fireman. It's like, for me, that's pressure. That's a lot more pressure than getting a social media account, right?
Genuinely, there's not a person on the planet that inspires me more than him in terms of I know the things he's seen growing up and the things he's been through. And yet he can go to a burning building and try and save people. That blows my mind. But put him on a football pitch in a tense environment, or a tennis court, or swimming, or wherever it might be, and once he gets past the point where he knows he can win, not interested.
Really?
And where I'm the opposite. So tell me I can't win, and right, I'm going to win at all costs. I mean, someone we were talking to the other day said, "Oh, I thought you were a techie person. This should be easy for you." And I know why he said it, because he twigged that by saying that to me, the next time he speaks to me, it'll be done with a stamp on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that fires me up big time. So there's been situations for me in sporting environments, business environments, where I'm the underdog, but I know I'm going to win because my wife would say stubborn, and I'd say tenacious.
Tenacious.
Yeah. So, but that's where I come from. A pretty hostile upbringing. With not that, like, my mum behind closed doors would sing my praises, but she didn't have time to. So it's not that she didn't care or wasn't impressed. She hasn't got time for that shit. There's bills to pay and ambulances showing up and police cars showing up and shit like that. So I went to university, and I think she was glad that I had 3 years break to go and do my thing. And I was one of those, got to university, and obviously there's people there far more talented than me. I was like, well, they're not going to do better than me. No way. I am going to get the top score on this degree because I've got a bit weird. I will not lose.
Do you just drink lots?
I did. Well, you've seen what I'm like when I drink, so.
Yeah, but very rarely. I've seen drunk Joel maybe twice.
For the best.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So everyone says I don't do things by halves. So be that drinking, gambling.
You gamble as well? Bloody hell, finding out some right things.
No,
about my business
I don't gamble, but there's a reason why.
I was wondering where the bank account was empty.
No, but there's a reason why, isn't there? So like, I don't tend to go out drinking very often because if I do,
you can't have one.
It's all or nothing. I can have one with my wife in the garden, but I'm very all or nothing. If I'm going to fix a website, it's going to be fixed beyond belief. If I'm going to draw a picture, I'm going to draw the best picture I've ever drawn. And I'm not sure that's a healthy way to be, but that's.
So what's more important to you, using that website analogy then? You doing whatever it takes to get it fixed so the client's happy? Or would you be okay delegating that and saying, you sort it out because the end result's the same, the client's happy because the website's fixed?
I've got better at that. I think 5 years ago, there's no chance you'd have gone into business with me.
Because you just couldn't let go of anything?
Yeah.
It is hard. It's hard for any business, which is why so many business owners are sole traders. They just literally can't let go.
Yeah. Or is it let go, or is it that frustration that you know that it could be done better?
Yeah, that's so is it the E-Myth? That's such a good book to read. Michael Gerber or Gerber. If you haven't read it, guys, do listen to it, because it talks about the difference between being an entrepreneur and being a technician, and that sometimes you might think you want to, I know you're a plumber and you've got these aspirations of running your own plumbing business, but if you're still there plumbing every day because you can't let go or you enjoy it so much, well, save yourself the ball ache and just go and plumb for someone else.
Yeah, my vision has had to shift. My vision before was to help people to the best of my ability, and my vision now is is for Codebreak to help people
to own a company that does that.
Yeah. So, and that's not necessarily help the client. That could be help our employees. That could be help a charity. But it's that I like that social impact. I like that kind of crossover between capitalism and socialism, where something actually genuinely helps people get. I had a call with a prospect this morning, and I said, "What do you want to achieve?" And we went through all of the call. And he kept talking about how many sales he wanted to make a day, and I said, "That's not what you want to achieve." And he was, "How many sales?" And I said, and then he just dropped in, "I want to pay my mortgage off in 5 years."
Ah, there we go.
And I said, "Oh, okay. So if I can help you pay your mortgage off in 5 years, you'll be my best friend for life." And he was like, "Yeah." And that really makes me tick. I can then talk to our team and say, "Look, this guy wants to pay his mortgage off in 5 years. These are the things we need to do," and that plays onto my selfishness, that kind of ingrained idea that I want to help people and see people progress, where before I thought it was all like charity, where like someone rings me up, "Oh, I haven't got much money, could you just do this for me?"
Just and that famous 4-letter word.
And then I realised that 50% of all the people that called me said it. I was like, "Well, fuck, all these people are really struggling for money, but they keep driving past me in brand new Mercedes." It's weird. And then it twigged with me that actually, no, you need to make sure you're helping people who are on your level.
Yeah. I saw someone post on Instagram yesterday a quote they'd seen in I think it was their local barbers. It said, "I charge for my talent, not your budget."
Why?
And I thought, wow, that is just, because we talk about, we charge for the years, not the minutes. Just because it takes us 50 minutes to do something, that doesn't mean we charge for 50 minutes. We charge for the bloody years it took us to be able to do it to an awesome level in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's I appreciate that can be hard to understand if you're the one paying the bill. But it's like, those hourly rates, all that kind of stuff. It's like you said about this guy who, "I want to make 5 sales a day." Well, speak to a salesperson then. Hire a salesperson, hire a telesalesperson, hire a field. Why are you speaking to a marketing agency?
And then, exactly. You get into the depth of it. It's like, actually, I want to pay off my mortgage and I need to increase my margin on my product by 70%. So I need to be marketing it to a different audience so I can sell it for more. And that's where, we almost fall into that crossover of, right, are we a marketing company or are we business coaches? Like how, and I love that. That really makes me tick. That's way better than designing a logo or drawing up, designing a website. We're
doing a lot more consultancy now, and it's almost like, well, I suppose it's like with the staff here, we're training them and empowering them. I want them to be able to figure this stuff out themselves. Hi there, it's Andy at Codebreak. Thanks for listening to the Stay Hungry podcast. It's business owners like you that keep the wheels of the world turning. Did you know that Codebreak offers a marketing consultancy service? Visit codebreak.co.uk today and book your discovery call with me or Joel, and let's skyrocket your business together. We can't wait to hear about your goals. Well, he sounds like a really nice chap.
Sounds right, doesn't he? Yeah. Good timing that, wasn't it? So...
You think we'd always planned it? We actually haven't.
No. Well, I knew that add number 2 on that button there would do that, but...
You've let me touch your buttons now.
Everyone's had a go. It came in today and it was turned on before I was even here.
I hope it's been sanitised.
Yes.
Excellent.
I think we might have to call this podcast Part 1.
So how long have we got now? Oh my goodness, so it's gone really quick. No, it's good because I've actually found out a few things about you, but it's good for people to know, like, well, who they're dealing with, because that's our job with our other clients. And sometimes we're so busy telling our client's story that maybe actually we should probably tell our own.
And I hate that self-indulgence of sob stories. Like, both of us have got sob stories.
God, you've got them coming out of your backside.
Yeah. But I don't like that kind of like virtue signalling sob story. I don't want your sympathy, but if there's something I've experienced that can help you, brilliant.
Can I talk about being an Asian in the 70s again?
Well, there you go. But, that's viable, isn't it? There's lots of businesses we come across where they might be the underdog or they might be trying to attack a new marketplace and they feel like they're having loads of shit thrown at them. It's like, well, don't worry, we've got life experience that will help us help you.
Absolutely. So this really is part one then.
I reckon we'll leave it there. We'll go over some of our life experiences another time.
Excellent. Brilliant.